had surgery, but she's now recovering well and hopes to be with us again soon. So collectively, we will say the Our Father prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses,
Forgive those
trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
for thine is the
Kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever.
Amen.
Amen.
As we normally do through orders of procedures with the minutes. Senator Bell.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I beg leave to move for the adoption of the minutes of the last sitting of the Honorable Senate on the 16th day of March 2021. If I may obtain a seconder.
Rise the second.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes of Tuesday, the 16th of March 2021 be accepted as presented unless there are corrections, additions, deletions.
Yeah, I have
Senator Bell.
Yeah, I would just wish the minutes to be amended to reflect that when I rose on a point of privilege, I made a specific denial of misleading any person. I made a specific denial of having misled the public. Okay? That is critical. That was the point of privilege on which I rose. Thank you, Chief Clerk.
We ask the clerk to make the corrections as noted. All those in favor with the corrections? Aye. All those opposed? Nay. The ayes have it. The minutes are accepted as amended. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign, swearing in of new senators, communications by the president. I simply would like to say that I hope that we are all, if we haven't done so already, educate ourselves on the COVID vaccine so that not only we can make considered decisions in taking it ourselves, but in order to answer any questions that you might be asked of by the public. I think it is very important that we deal with this issue of being vaccinated for the COVID-19. We have had a full year of lockdowns as a result of it. And I think we're all anxious to get back to our normal living activities, work and play. And therefore, I think it would be wise, not only as a citizen, but as a healthcare provider, that we seriously consider taking the COVID vaccine. And I am happy to say that I am now 4 days in from taking my first dose of the COVID vaccine.
We trust that you're feeling good and have had no adverse reactions, Madam President.
Not a single one. As a matter of fact, as many as injections as I have taken and given, I didn't even feel the needle go into my arm.
Very good.
But I do know that there was vaccine in the syringe. I looked at that before
okay.
I was injected.
Did you do the smell test or the taste test before you did it? Okay.
Okay. Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the House of Assembly. Laying of documents by ministers. Communications by ministers.
None.
Communications by senators. Senator Mitchell.
Yeah, Madam President, I just wanted to ask the leader for government business how he intends to approach the debate today. I know he said that there'd be a compendium of bills, but I know, and there's the resolution. But I was looking, resolutions comes after second reading. So is the idea we're going to debate the bills and then deal with the resolution on or not? That's what you're suggesting.
Yes, the sequence of events would be that the as this is a financial debate, the Minister of State of Finance will lead off on a bill, which he will propose for second reading in committal. He will debate not only the bills in their entirety, but also the budget resolution. Once we shall have completed with the procedures of the bills, up to and inclusive of third reading and passage, we then move up the agenda to resolutions, at which point he will simply move the resolution. Someone will simply second it. We'll take the vote without debate. And I would like to thank the member opposite for agreeing on this concession of having a single debate in the interest of time. And so let us look forward to a vigorous and hopefully informative debate. Thank you.
Just as to repeat that the bill on the airport purchase from Grand Bahama is not part of that.
No, sir. That it is the intention of the government as of this day that we will debate that the House will debate the airport amendment bill next Wednesday. The Senate will, on its rising, adjourn till next Thursday. Hopefully, they will have completed that debate. We will then be able to pass the bill. It is critically important for the rebirth of Grand Bahama that the government step in, and we will all have a healthy debate on that next week, hopefully, God willing. Thank you.
Want to give that.
Yes.
And then finally, Madam President, I have to some party responsibilities causing me to have to step out for a good part of the morning. So Dr. Darvel will hold the fort, so to speak, if you can.
We understand the need to ameliorate hurt feelings, and so we certainly accept that you have very weighty responsibilities in that regard, and do excuse your absence. Thank you.
We will continue with our agenda. Answers to questions, presentations of petitions, appointment of select committees, reports of committees, first reading of bills, none. Second reading and committal of bills. The chair recognizes Senator Kwesi Thompson. Senator Darvel, would you mind?
Madam President, it is a privilege for me to stand in this place this morning. And first of all, I want to give thanks to God for His grace and mercy, for all of us being here this morning on proceeding with the people's business. Madam President, I also want to thank my family in Grand Bahama. I want to thank the Prime Minister, the good people of the East Grand Bahama Association who supported my nomination for the constituency of East Grand Bahama. So, Madam President, I begin the process of speaking not just for Grand Bahama, but also speaking for the good people of East Grand Bahama as well. And I also want to acknowledge and to thank the present Member of Parliament, Peter Turnquist, for all of the work that he has been doing in the constituency of East Grand Bahama as well. Madam President, I wish to move for second reading and committal, and I'll just use the Public Finance Management Bill of 2021 at first. But as was stated earlier, we are debating a compendium of bills. The Public Finance Management Bill 2021, the Statistics Bill of 2021, the Public Debt Management Bill of 2021, and the Procurement Bill of 2021. And Madam President, I will also be speaking to the midterm budget resolution and the fiscal strategy report. And so we will be debating all of those in one. And so my remarks, while I will start off by dealing with some of the midterm budget issues, as I proceed in my remarks, I will then speak to the four bills that are before us. Madam President, in the past few years, the Bahamas was tested in ways that threatened the lives and livelihoods of every Bahamian family. None of us could have imagined that the country would have to deal with Dorian and then contend with a global pandemic that would force a complete and protracted shutdown of our economic lifeblood, the tourism sector. But let me remind this honorable chamber that prior to the twin impacts of Hurricane Dorian and COVID-19, the Bahamas was in the best fiscal position it had been in for years. Debt levels were modest and stable. The fiscal deficit was at the lowest point in over a decade. And we were on a path to achieving a balanced budget, something we had not been able to achieve in decades. And I also might add that we had seen economic growth since the Great Recession. As we reflect on where the country is today and discuss key plans for the future, let us remember that we are a remarkable and resilient people. These crises have not defeated us. These crises have not hardened our spirits. These crises have not deterred us from our mission of building a better and more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient Bahamas. None of us wanted to experience Dorian or COVID, but I am absolutely convinced that our Bahamas will be stronger because we experienced Dorian. Our Bahamas will be stronger because we experienced COVID. And though we mourn those who we have lost during these most challenging times, we remember them by continuing to fight, by continuing to rebuild, and by continuing to overcome. So, Madam President, I'm proud, and I say this with conviction, that I'm proud to be a servant of the people in these times. And I believe all of us should be able to say that we are privileged and proud to serve the public in these extraordinary times. We cannot take it for granted. The job carries with it great responsibility. However, I believe firmly in this administration and its approach to good governance. I believe in the spirit and the strength of Bahamians. And even more importantly, I believe in the strength of our God. In the face of an enormous crisis that has eroded our hard-fought economic gains and has hurt the country's macroeconomic standing, this F&M government continues to fight for the Bahamian people and fight for the country's economic recovery. It is a fight, Madam President, but it is a fight that we will win. We are fighting, Madam President, to save lives and reduce hardships. We are fighting to create opportunities and wealth through Bahamian entrepreneurship and ownership. We are fighting to advance the administration of public service with long overdue technological upgrades. We are fighting to expand investment and deliver the ease of doing business reforms. And yes, we are fighting to restore our country's fiscal health. Madam President, we are making meaningful and sustainable gains despite the incredibly difficult circumstances in which we find ourselves. We are fighting to reduce hardship. So, Madam President, due to the COVID-19 global pandemic economic downturn, as well as the necessary health and safety protocols, the government has provided an unprecedented level of support in our fight to reduce the hardship of the Bahamian public. A few weeks ago, the Prime Minister provided an overview in his midterm budget report to the end of December 2020, detailing how the government has invested $210 million in direct COVID-related health, safety, and support benefits to save lives and reduce economic hardship. That's $210 million going directly to help Bahamians. Madam President, $18.4 million in health, sanitation, and other related expenditures. $33 million to fund our essential food support programs, aiding approximately 72,000 households through the National Food Distribution Task Force and the Department of Social Services. $76 million in direct cash support to workers in need of unemployment assistance. And this program has supported some 37,000 persons. And those persons who have exhausted their NIB benefits, and even though they have exhausted those benefits, the government has decided that they will continue to support those persons with unemployment benefits. Madam President, $44.4 million for private sector payroll support in the form of tax credits and deferrals to meet the payroll of 14,000 workers across 126 businesses. 40 million in small business continuity loans and grants, which have supported approximately 580 companies and nearly 4,500 employees. Madam President, this government has provided unprecedented support for its people during this time of crisis. The government also provided $5 million in additional support to private schools over their traditional budgeted amounts to support them in their financial relief, which means, Madam President, we knew schools, the private schools, we knew that they were going through difficult times. And we knew that ordinarily we provide them with support and subvention. But Madam President, at this unprecedented time and this time of crisis, we came to their aid in providing additional support for the private schools to ensure that they remained open. $20.3 million to protect aviation jobs and ensure critical airlift to our family islands by supporting Bahamas Air and the Nassau Flight Services salary and operational costs. Madam President, since December 2020, the government has continued to provide support in its fight to reduce hardship for the Bahamian people by expending an additional $30 million in unemployment assistance through to the end of February 2021, and $10 million between January and March of 2021, of which $7.4 million has been spent to supply the Food Task Force with funds for food provision. These investments, these actions, these deliberate choices continue to demonstrate that we are indeed a government that cares about its people and leads in times of crisis. We are fighting, Madam President, to increase Bahamian ownership. So we are fighting to increase Bahamian ownership. Why? Because when this pandemic is behind us, it is more important now than ever before that we accelerate the pace of entrepreneurship and capital formation. Madam President, we must seize this opportunity. It is our view that the best way to do this is to increase opportunities for Bahamian ownership and economic resilience. There is no better time than now for us to empower Bahamians. Because when we are in a crisis, we must not just sit back and take it as it comes, but we must see the opportunities in the crisis and seize the opportunities in the crisis. And Madam President, that is exactly what we have been doing through small business development. Since coming to office, the F&M government has taken significant steps to encourage the Bahamian entrepreneurial spirit, particularly for the youth, women, and innovative small businesses. This is not just talk, Madam President. This is not just about putting words on a piece of paper. Madam President, the Bahamian public has seen the tangible steps that we have taken to achieve this, and we intend to do even more in the future. Just last week, I attended the grand opening of the new headquarters for the Bahamas Development Bank on Robinson Road. This location was specifically chosen in the over-the-hill community due to its central location, making it easily accessible to all persons. The BDB has been rebranded, restructured, and rejuvenated with new staff and a new comprehensive strategic plan and a new renewed focus on developing or additional finances. Madam President, I just want to say quickly the funding priorities for the Bahamas Development Bank. They want to support small farmers establishing all-natural broiler production. They want to support the building of commercial animal industry. They want to increase honey exports. They want to increase access to sustainable climate resilient housing. They want to commercialize the cassarilla production. And then they also want to create marketplaces for businesses of every size. And so to this end, Madam President, the Ministry of Finance is committed more than $20 million in financing in 2021-2022 year to recapitalize the BDB and increase funding opportunities for small and medium-sized businesses throughout the Bahamas. Madam President, these efforts are in addition to the tremendous work of the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. And Madam President, I want to take a moment to commend the staff at the Small Business Development Center. They have been doing a tremendous work, unprecedented, tremendous work and support for small businesses throughout the country, Madam President. So I want to commend each one of them for the difficult and the hard work that they've been doing. The types of businesses, Madam President, and the sectors that they represent have ranged from, they've helped our fishermen, they've helped our farmers, courier services, beauty care services, graphic design, catering companies, landscaping companies, small construction companies, clothing boutiques, party rental services, tour operators, daycare operators, and the list goes on and on for the kind of businesses that they've been helping, Madam President. As we transition to a post-COVID environment, this administration's commitment to small businesses will expand even further with a commitment of an annual contribution of $50 million or more in financing support each fiscal year over the next 5 years. Madam President, that's $50 million annual for the next 5 years. This government will continue its unrivaled track record as the government which has done the most to support Bahamian entrepreneurs and small businesses. And Madam President, second place when it comes to this is not even close. So Madam President, also in line with one of the recommendations from the Economic Recovery Committee, the process of creating a Bahamian e-commerce marketplace is well underway. This is yet another initiative that we are actively pushing that will be a game changer for small businesses in terms of how they sell and market their products. So we want to provide them with an online platform that will allow small businesses to be able to sell their wares throughout the Bahamas, but not just be limited to selling their wares online in the Bahamas, but they will be able to sell their items throughout the entire world. It is bringing the world to the Bahamas, Madam President. And so that's one of the big initiatives that the Small Business Development Center is moving ahead with, that e-commerce national marketplace. We are also taking small business development to another level. The SPDC recently facilitated the transformation of the Gladstone Road property that formerly housed Phil's supermarket into a new permanent home for the Tin Foil Food Park. The relocation of the outdoor pop-up market is only the beginning. Architectural drawings and plans are ready and have been advanced to convert the entire property into a hub for technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Madam President, I remember, as I said, I went to do a study trip about how the U.S. did their small business development centers. And one of the places that I was able to visit was in Atlanta. And they had what they call a small business incubation center. And that incubation center was attached to one of the big universities. And what I found about that incubation center was that they would take a person from idea to completing and evolving their business into a standalone business. So they would have classes. They would train the person about how to develop their idea. But then they would take them to the next step, where they would provide a space for them. And it may be a small space to start off with, but that they'd have a computer and a desk and they could start working. And then as they evolve, then they would evolve into an office. And then as they move from the office, they would evolve into a bigger office that may have a conference room together. And then it would then evolve to move to an even larger space. And then they would be ready to branch off into their own. And I thought, Madam President, that that was such an excellent idea in terms of helping persons to be able to evolve. Madam President, I am so pleased that the Small Business Development Center is moving along with the same concept of having a business incubation center for our businesses here in the Bahamas. And Madam President, it will provide an outdoor pop-up market space so that persons will be able to sell their wares on the outside. It will provide permanent office space for the Small Business Development Center, but it would also add retail incubator office spaces. So for those businesses who are trying to get off their feet, it will provide a space for them to be in. And then it would also provide a space for the office incubator spaces. So, Madam President, these are the plans for what the incubation space is going to look like. This is actually the pop-up store space. The pop-up store space will be here. So these are the pop-up store spaces, and this is the rendering of so people will be able to come in, walk, and see your wares, and come in and buy. And what this does is, for those people who find it difficult to have and go and rent a space, this space will be provided to them so that they will be able to sell their wares and get started in terms of moving ahead with their business. Madam President, in addition to that, this is the location on Gladstone Road where the pop-up is going to be, and this is the plans for it. So you see the pop-up market will be on one side. Then they will have shared conference spaces so that, again, if you are a part of the program, you will have a space if you need to have a conference room. You will have a shared space if you need to have a conference and set up meetings. And then this part here, Madam President, is again part that I'm really excited about, because we saw in other locations where there was spaces for tech startups. And we say that we want to get involved in the technology industry. And we say that what we want to do is to give incentives for young people and those persons who are involved in technology for them to go ahead and have a space. So this will provide them with a shared working space where they could innovate, they could get together with their counterparts, They could share ideas. They can have a space where they can truly develop their tech ideas. And you never know, Madam President, the next Yahoo developer, the next Google developer, the next Cisco developer will come right out of this same space that we are providing for our young people. Thank you. Madam President, we understand how challenging it can be to start a business. And it is for this reason that we build out this space. Small businesses and current SPDC clients will be given the priority to access this space to support their business development needs. I now want to move to a very important topic again, Madam President.
Senator, if I may interrupt for a minute, I just have a question as to where you're at. On your diagrams, that provides all of the physical spaces that a new business would have to invest in without them having to do it because you've made it available.
Absolutely, Madam.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I'm a short fellow, so I don't. It may cover me. Madam President. Yeah, if you want to, you could press it. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. So, Madam President, I want to talk about youth small business development. Because, you know, there are others who really talk about this. But I want to be able to show that this is not just talk, but this is things that are in action that is being done now. So, Madam President, for young persons between the age of 18 and 30, we are also fighting to help you achieve your dreams. So the launch of the first session of the Youth Development Program just closed on February 28th. This is the first business incubation program that provides young people between the age of 18 and 30. It provides you with support for your idea, funding for your idea, and a workspace for your idea. The government has allocated $1.5 million to support our young people in this program, Madam President. The first group of young people will have their ideas assessed, they will have them developed, they will have them funded, and then they will be mentored. All while the SPDC staff will hold their hand through the process. So, Madam President, without question, we are fighting for our young people. That's not all. These young people will be provided an opportunity to have the pop-up shop and the retail space in the facility until they can branch out on their own. We are also developing, as I said, a true tech hub in this facility that will provide tech entrepreneurs and startup space to develop and to innovate. I'm pleased to say that this program will be mirrored in Grand Bahama once the final location is secured. The Coconut Vendors Program, announced by the Prime Minister, which will train and fund coconut vendors, will commence on the first week of April. And so I encourage all of the coconut vendors to apply online through the Small Business Development Center website this coming week. Madam President, today I'm also happy to announce the latest initiative to support small Bahamian businesses and entrepreneurs. The Securities Commission of the Bahamas will soon release its Securities Industry Business Capital Rules of 2021. which modernizes the rules for small businesses to raise capital. So these rules make the process of raising crowdfunding less costly and less bureaucratic for small businesses. Well, Madam President, what is this? This process will be a simple, seamless, non-bureaucratic process that will allow our small businesses to be able to sell shares in their businesses to other Bahamians and other investors who would wish to invest in their business. So right now, the process is technical, the process is long, cumbersome, and really only the bigger businesses tend to do it. But Madam President, we are now streamlining the process so that small businesses will be able to access crowdfunding much easier. So under the terms of these new proposed rules, Bahamians will be able to raise up to $5 million via crowdfunding. And that is without having to file a prospectus with the Commission. The shares created under this framework will be transferable and can be traded on the secondary market such as BISX. Imagine, Madam President, that you have small businesses now who can sell their shares and sell their shares on BISX and who can get other Bahamians to invest in their businesses and who can now be able to trade and to sell those shares, Madam President. It is transformative. Transformative when it comes to small business development. For too long, Madam President, small businesses that wanted to offer shares in their company to raise capital had their hands tied in bureaucracy. Not anymore. With crowdsourcing provisions and the other modifications to the regulatory regime, the ability for small businesses to raise capital and share and sell shares will no longer be limited to the proverbial big boys in the corporate world. We are bringing the capital markets within reach of the Bahamian entrepreneur and small businesses. The new rules will provide protection as well for small businesses. For example, there will be limitations on the numbers of shares that an individual outside investor may hold, thus protecting the small business owner from hostile takeovers. Madam President, I want to emphasize this point, that the areas that I'm focusing on today are not only evidence of the government's past actions, because, we are always accused of standing up and telling people or touting all of the things that we have done, even though we have an obligation to report, but we are accused of patting ourselves on the back. Well, today, Madam President, we not only want to talk about what we have done, but we also want to talk about the future. We want to talk about where we see this country, and we want to talk about where we believe we can take this country in the future. So as we debate the 2020 Fiscal Strategy Report, which outlines the macroeconomic picture for the next 3 years, the public should note that the F&M administration plans to continue making meaningful and sustainable progress with respect to taking care of the poor and the vulnerable and growing the economy and modernizing the government. So, Madam President, I want to talk about something that's passionate to me, which is the digital transformation of our country. The government recently adopted an electronic communication policy in accordance with the Communication Act of 2009. This policy speaks to a 3-year plan to create a modern digital society that facilitates the growth and expansion of the Bahamian economy. Madam President, digital transformation is unquestionably one of the pillars of our economic recovery. And for that matter, it is one of the pillars of the economic recovery of almost every country in the world. That is how important digital transformation is. Because of the priority given to digitization by this administration, we are further along to achieve a digital Bahamas by leaps and bounds. So we see, Madam President, in the passport office, where there are no longer long lines with respect to renew your passport. but thousands of Bahamians have been able to take advantage of renewing their passport online in a convenient way without having to give somebody lunch money or without having to do some additional things and stand up in line and wait for long periods of time. Madam President, it has gone to the point where the average time now, I'm advised, is about 14 days for you to get your online renewal of your passport. Madam President, and we also see that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been expanding their passport offices so that you will be able to collect your online passports from the family islands as well. So you could sit in the family islands, you can order and pay for your passport renewal online. And now, because we have expanded the offices, you can then collect it from those places in the family island that has an office. Madam President, the Bahamas Electronic Management and Information Systems, or what I just call it the e-cabinet. We are about 90% completed with respect to the e-cabinet, and we should launch in a few weeks. And Madam President, just to remind persons what this is, you know, when we first came to office as ministers, every week we were delivered a package of green papers. And sometimes those papers would be this high. And you would have to take those. In fact, if someone like me who had to travel to Grand Bahama because I have an office in Grand Bahama, those papers would be put on a plane and sent to Grand Bahama, packaged. And then I would have to put them in a big briefcase and travel to Nassau with those piles of paper. Well, Madam President, we don't have any more of those green papers being delivered to ministers. But we are now being delivered our papers electronically. But even further, once the program comes fully on stream, we will be able to deal with our cabinet papers completely online and secure on the platform, and things like where the Prime Minister, who has to put the agenda together, he's going to be able to do that from any place in the world. So, Madam President, what that will do is it will cause us to be more efficient when it comes to our time in government. And Madam President, we know that time is money. The Ministry of Education is expanding its eNet program to place all schools online. And Madam President, you know, they were under a tremendous amount of pressure to be able to do this in a short period of time. And so I commend them for what they've been able to accomplish. The Bahamas Customs and Excise Department is rolling out their new phase of Click to Clear in its online customs processing software. The new phase includes the launch of the online cruising permit application and the launch of the online customs processing in Grand Bahama. And Madam President, one thing I am looking forward to, which they are about to launch, is the Customs Exempt program. Madam President, we all know the experience. We all know the experience of coming home from travel and bringing your items to the airport. And we know the first thing that you do is you go and you get your declaration form. You fill out that declaration form and you take it to the customs. They have to go ahead and do all their calculations, and then you have to go and pay, and then you go to collect your, to move your items out. But Madam President, this process is now being moved online. This process now, Madam President, will allow you to fill out your declaration even before you arrive in Nassau or in Grand Bahama or in the Bahamas. This will allow you to not just fill out your online declaration, but it will allow you to pay for your customs duty even before you arrive in the Bahamas. And it will allow you to receive your receipt to show that you've paid it. The program calculates your duty. You are able to pay for your duty. You're able to bring your receipt when you land. And you just show the customs officer your receipt. They will check your bag. But you will be moved on a separate line so that the only thing you will have to do is show your receipt, open your bag, and you are on your way. Madam President, that is what we call true digital transformation. Last month, Madam President, the Digital Transformation Unit successfully launched the public pilot for the new web platform to deliver government services online. So, Madam President, we said we were going to provide you with one site, one place that you can access government services. And so we, last month, launched that one site called mypilot.com. I'll give the exact name, mypilotservices.gov.bs. So you can now go on that one site, Madam President, and access government services. To date, 2,125 persons, Bahamians, have registered and successfully created their accounts on this site. From the comfort of their homes, we have had, and I want to emphasize this, from just last month, from the comfort of their home, we've had 506 Bahamians who have applied for, paid for, and gotten their driver's license online. A complete process, Madam President, where they can apply for it seamlessly, pay for it, and then at a separate location without having to stand in a line, they're able to go and collect their driver's license. We had 146 who have applied for copies of their marriage certificate, and marriage certificate, birth certificate, and their family's death certificate. We've had positive feedback from these processes, Madam President. In addition, there is a call center, and I'm proud to say that the call center is located in Grand Bahama, and we've had, again, tremendous support from those persons who've had questions, because Grand Bahama is a wonderful place for there to be call centers. And so we've been able to set up that call center, Madam President, with Grand Bahamians who are, and they are on the ball. If there are problems or issues that persons have, they are able to answer those questions and walk persons through that process. Our digital transformation strategy, Madam President, is one of national significance. No island will be left behind. So with this priority in mind, for the government, we are pleased to announce that today, Wednesday, March 17th, the My Pilot services will be extended to the Family Islands, beginning, of course, with Grand Bahama. So the collection sites will be announced at the official release. But again, what this means, Madam President, is that what we want to do is to provide services at the convenience of the person. You could sit back at 12 a.m. and apply for your driver's license and pay for your driver's license. And then you will receive an email that tells you, come and collect your driver's license when it's ready, so you don't have to stand in the line for it. Within the next 2 weeks, Madam President, there will also be a centralized collection center in Providence. We're also continuing to expand this. So, Madam President, the next services will include your police certificate, so that you will now no longer have to go and apply for your police certificate in person, but you will be able to use My Pilot services and apply for your police certificate, pay for your police certificate completely online, and then when it's ready, they will send you an email at a separate location. You don't have to stand in a line, and then you can go and collect your police certificate. The same with respect to gun license renewal, post office box renewal, and eventually, Madam President, vehicle registration. Recently, the government has opened the passport office doors in Exuma and in Nagua, and plans are now also ready to open offices in Long Island and in Lustra. Madam President, very quickly, the cybersecurity has been a huge concern. In fact, in one of the United Nations assessments in 2017, the Bahamas ranked 129. It is not a proud statistic that we have. But Madam President, we recently partnered and signed and entered into an agreement with the ITU, which is the technology arm of the United Nations. And we launched that program in February. The National Computer Incident Response Team will serve as a trusted central coordinating point of contact for cybersecurity. So now there will be one entity that can deal with cybersecurity where they can assess threats, they can prevent threats, and then they also can respond to threats. And so, Madam President, we have recently put out an advertisement for the post of manager and analyst. We've gotten a number of responses back, and we will be hiring a manager and analyst to start the process of the National Computer Incident Response Team. Madam President, I'm also pleased to announce the launch of the Bahamas' first fully integrated financial management information system. They call it the IFMAS. It is eminent. And that, Madam President, most significantly, the new system will usher in the government's long-awaited transition to accrual-based accounting. What does this mean? Governments will no longer be able to rack up unpaid bills without any oversight, only to be discovered years down the road. It is a cash-based system like the one we now have. In a cash-based system like the one we now have, governments like the last administration can leave behind millions of unpaid bills and expect that future governments will now clean them up. Well, the public now, Madam President, with this new system, we will prevent that from happening because it all now will be up to date. Madam President, the public service, and I just wanted to take a minute to discuss, because as I said, these kinds of transformations are important to note in terms of the progress that we are making. The public service will also benefit from a new human resource management information system. Imagine this, Madam President, that somebody who has served in the public service for 30 or 40 years, that if they want to retire, the first question that the public service asks them to do is to provide a letter that says how long you've been working for the public service. So they also, in certain cases, ask you to provide a copy of your passport, a copy of your national insurance card, a copy of other information in terms of your qualifications and so on, and how long you've been working there. It is, Madam President, absurd of some of the things that you are still asking public servants to provide, and that's the government asking the public servant to provide these things to the government. So, Madam President, with this new human resource management information, it will be digital. Digital where a person who want to apply for their vacation can now apply for their vacation online. For persons who are going to retire, all of that information should be at a click of a button to give the records of how long a person has been there and how long a person has been employed. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be done overnight. But, Madam President, we are starting the process to get this done. This system will, as I said, allow for a more streamlined, automated service geared towards reducing duplication, paperwork, and process resulting in a more satisfied public service workforce. I want to talk, Madam President, about the Central Bank Sand Dollar Project. On the 20th of October 2020, the central bank began a gradual national release of the sand dollar, the digital version of the Bahamian dollar, through authorized financial institutions. The central bank began a strategic partnership with the Ministry of Finance in the fourth quarter of 2020 to support the e-government initiatives, with emphasis on the shift to electronic payments. The government intends to use the sand dollar as a significant component in its digitization initiative for both distribution and collections. What does that mean, Madam? It means, Madam President, we are heading in a direction where you can collect payments from the government by using your phone, and not only collect payments, but you can pay the government by using your phone. So, Madam President, a digital currency adoption we will see in cash-reliant government services. So we will start with the Department of Immigration. Imagine paying for your work permit and paying for your other immigration fees by just using on the click of your phone. Imagine paying for your road traffic driver's license by just the click of the phone. Imagine renewing your passport by just using your phone. So, Madam President, we will work towards adopting the sand dollar with respect to these government agencies. Our transition away from cash is also intended to reduce the logistical cost and inconvenience of making government payments in cash in Family Island districts. We now see the movement of banks away from the Family Islands. But what we want to do, Madam President, is not go backward, but we want to go forward. So we want to take the Family Islands to a cashless as possible, and to be able to use the sand dollar to ensure that those businesses can transact with the government. Today, we have 9 financial institutions that have successfully completed their cybersecurity assessment and have been cleared to distribute the digital currency. The central bank has also worked to achieve the interoperability of all proprietary mobile apps within the sand dollar infrastructure. So those companies that have digital wallets, that it is now, or it should now be, they are working towards it being interoperable with those other digital wallets. So if you have a Canoe account or one of those other accounts, that you will be able to use the sand dollar and transact with the sand dollar regardless of the app that you have. Eminently, the central bank will also complete, and this is the one I think that is going to change and revolutionize the way that we do business. Eminently, the central bank will also complete the integration of digital infrastructure with commercial banking systems. This means, Madam President, that if I have 100 sand dollars, once there is an integration with commercial bank and my commercial bank account, it means that I will be able to take $100 out of my bank account, switch it over to be 100 sand dollars, and then I can transact in sand dollars to my in doing business with those persons who accept sand dollars. So if I want to buy something and I want to buy it in sand dollars, I can get 100 out of my bank account, transfer it onto my sand dollar account, and then go ahead and transact using my telephone to buy what I need to buy in sand dollars. And it's the same thing that if somebody wants to pay me in sand dollars, that I then can receive those sand dollars and then immediately deposit it into my bank account in sand dollars. Imagine, Madam President, imagine the possibilities if we grab this concept and we take it to the next level. Imagine in the Family Islands, you don't need a physical bank in the Family Islands if we are able to catch on to this concept. Because if someone has a bank account in Nassau, but I can transact using the sand dollar in Inagua or Miguana, then why do I need to have physical cash? Because I can do all of my transactions in sand dollar, and at the end of the day, I transfer my money into my bank account, which may be located in Nassau. Madam President, we are taking this country to the next level. And Madam President, it is this government that has the focus, that has the vision, that has the plan to move us to a complete digital Bahamas, Madam President. So, Madam President, we must do things differently. We must innovate. We cannot keep doing the same things over and over and over and expect that we are going to get a different result. But we must look at things differently, be able to try some things differently. Madam President, other countries are looking at the sand dollar, and they are looking at a digital currency created by a central bank and are saying, wow, the Bahamas has moved forward even ahead of us when it comes to digital currency. So, Madam President, as I said, it's something that we have to continue to innovate and continue to do. Madam President, we are fighting to expand investment. And so we are fighting to deliver the ease of doing business reforms. One of our reforms, Madam President, is for business license process. So, Madam President, we are taking another step forward to encourage entrepreneurship. We are pleased to announce that the Department of Inland Revenue intends to further reduce the bureaucracy in obtaining a provisional business license by introducing a risk-based approval process. What does this mean? Right now, Madam President, you can, for a very, very limited kind of business, I think mostly only home-based businesses, you can go to the Inland Revenue and you can get a provisional business license that allows you to open up a business in 48 hours. It allows you to go, get the documentation, you actually fill it out online, you get it back in 48 hours. But it is only a very limited use. Only a very limited use. So, Madam President, we have taken the step to now expand the use of the provisional business license. So now, Madam President, we have included in the types of businesses that can get a provisional business license. Remember, getting a provisional business license means getting a business license in 48 hours. So the type businesses we are including in this is if you want to open up a clothing store, it's now included so that you can get a business license to open up a clothing store in 48 hours. If you want a beauty store, a furniture store, a bookstore, you now can get a provisional business license in 48 hours. Florists. And this one is one that really got me thinking. Persons told me that there were persons who were applying to have a car wash business license. And they had to wait for weeks sometimes to get a car wash business license. And I thought to myself, that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. That if I want to get a bucket and a cloth and some water, and I want to wash cars, which is a pretty good living for some people, by the way. But if I want to wash cars, then I have to wait weeks in order for me to get a business license to wash cars. Madam President, now 48 hours you will be able, and I'm pushing for us to get it in an even shorter period of time. But Madam President, for now we are saying 48 hours. You come in, you provide evidence that you have permission to be in the location that you want to be, because obviously you have to have permission to be in that location. But if you have permission to be there, you are not on a main road, then you should be able to have your provisional business license in 48 hours. Madam President, things like small construction companies, things like farming and fishing licenses, printing shops, all of these will be added to the new provisional business license. Madam President, we understood that it takes too long for Bahamians and foreign investors to navigate our bureaucracy and to get the necessary approvals. We must create a modern investment regime to drive the economic recovery and to sustain a robust investment climate. So, Madam President, we move forward with the recommendation of the Economic Recovery Committee. And so we are making steps to develop and subsequently launch the Invest Bahamas framework. And again, what this will do, Madam President, is digitally, online, allow persons to be able to apply to invest with a set criteria. And once they've been able to meet those criteria, then they will be given their approvals, Madam President. So we are moving ahead in that direction. Madam President, I want to just move to those compendium of bills. There should be no doubt that the F&M administration is committed to good governance and takes its job seriously. And the Ministry of Finance, that means we are serious about taking care of the people's money. That is why the compendium of bills we are debating along with the 2020 Fiscal Strategy Report are so important. The significant progress we are making to advance the Statistics Bill of 2020, the public, or 2021, the Public Financial Management Bill of 2021, the Debt Management Bill of 2021, and the Public Procurement Bill of 2020 are a sign that this government is walking the walk when it comes to its commitment to the fiscal responsibility principles enshrined in the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2018. The 4 pieces of legislation we are on the cusp of enacting are designed to further revolutionize fiscal transparency and accountability. We are all too aware of the government's in the past making pronouncements and passing legislation in some cases, and then nothing happens. Despite lots of talk, debate, and some legislation, no real change ever seems to take place. We are setting a new standard with respect to legislation that will upgrade and modernize the public financial framework. First, the Public Finance Management Bill will address significant weaknesses in existing public finance law, namely the Financial Administration and Audit Act of 2010. The PFM bill transitions to a principles-based approach to public financial management, thereby focusing on results rather than just taking an administrative approach and focusing more on process. This bill therefore requires an outcome-based budgeting and reporting to support a comprehensive management of the budget. Madam President, just a few points on this one, why this one is so important and why this is so different. We are now going to be required, ministries are now going to be required to not just put in place a budget or a report or just put in place budget estimates, but they will have to, those estimates will now have to be accompanied by a plan on what you are going to do and how you are going to do it. That has to be made public. It then also requires that that plan has to be presented to Parliament, and then you have to then justify how did you do at the end of the year, how did you do with respect to that plan? And it has to be tied to the money that is given to you as a ministry. It also provides, Madam President, for monthly and I stress monthly reports provided to the public on how our finances are doing. Monthly reports on what is being collected. Monthly reports on who is collecting what. Monthly reports on who is spending what. And monthly reports on what they are spending it on. So, Madam President, it means the Ministry of Finance has to provide it to the Cabinet, and it also says in the bill that the Cabinet has to publish it to the people. Again, Madam President, unprecedented. Unprecedented where you are, and now we are doing it on a quarterly basis. And we were doing it on a quarterly basis when we weren't even obligated to do it under law. But now it is being enshrined in the law, and you have to now do it on a monthly basis. Madam President, secondly, the Public Debt Management Bill, or the PDM Bill, creates a modern and comprehensive legal framework for public debt management operations in the Bahamas. The legislation comes to create the necessary linkages in the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which provides perimeters for debt ceilings in relation to the country's growth. You know, all, Madam President, the debate that is occurring today about our debt levels and our borrowing, this is precisely why we are passing this bill. To be able to make it transparent, but not just make it transparent, you will now have a committee, a review committee, that is not made up of politicians, but a review committee that is made up of government and private sector persons who will be able to assess and advise on our borrowing. And for, those of us who are, ordinary Bahamians and not financial whizzes, the reality is you are now putting the people who have the expertise, you are now putting them in place so that they could advise on what the government should be doing. And that's part of what we're doing with respect to the Public Debt Management Bill. Thirdly, the Statistics Bill. Again, making the Statistics Department really an independent, standalone entity. But what it in essence is doing is also strengthening it so that we can now be making decisions based on data, based on what comes from the Statistics Department. Madam President, sitting where we sit, we cannot make decisions in isolation, and we cannot just spew out things without having the necessary data to back up what we are saying. But Madam President, that is what we're doing here today by passing the Statistics Bill, strengthening that unit, providing the resources for it, and in making sure that we as a government, or any government, can now make decisions based on the data. And then the Procurement Bill, Madam President. The draft bill will establish the Public Procurement Department, and will manage all matters related to the government contracts in the country. The proposed department will be responsible for the development, oversight, and functioning of the procurement system. Again, Madam President, to make a long story short, it is about government contracts. And it is about making those government contracts fair. It is about making them transparent. It is about providing the ordinary businesses with the opportunity to be able to be on equal footing with anybody when it comes to bidding on public government contracts. It also means, Madam President, that we have to, and it is a change in culture, because there seems to have always been a wall of secrecy. And I'm not talking about one or the other, but a wall of secrecy when it comes to government contracts. Well, Madam President, this bill will now say that you have to publish who is getting what, when, and how. It will add a completely new mindset on transparency when it comes to public contracts. Madam President, there's also one major reform that we want to speak on. is perhaps the most controversial and most difficult, and that is a matter of tax reform. There is a 2020 study of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, assessed the government's tax revenue as a share of GDP. This study placed the Bahamas as one of the lowest in the English-speaking Caribbean at 17.6%. That means that we have one of the lowest levels of taxation compared to our GDP output. Neighboring countries generate much more revenue by way of taxes. That means that their taxes are higher, including St. Lucia at 20% of GDP, Trinidad and Tobago at 24%, and Jamaica at 27.8%. With such a relatively low taxation system, there is no doubt that we must effectively manage every dollar we collect, and we must collect every dollar that we are owed. It also means that we must achieve greater revenue sufficiency to protect the country from severe economic shocks and endure fiscal resilience. It is for this reason that this F&M government continues to fight to improve our revenue administration. Our approach to tax reform has 4 components. 1, we will not make rash, political or politically expedient decisions when it comes to taxes and government revenue. A new assessment of the current tax policy and administration is required. Since late last year, the government has been in discussions with our multilateral partners to conduct an up-to-date review and assessment of our tax regime. While we have conducted studies in the past, they are time sensitive and must be grounded in present and anticipated future realities. The past 2 years of economic trauma requires a reimagining of the future. A new assessment is critical now more than ever before. Such a study will not only aid in reviewing flaws and weaknesses in the administration of our tax system, but it will also review our tax rates, policy, and types of tax. At the conclusion of this exercise, the public will be engaged on the way forward. 2, improving tax administration is the second pillar. The real property tax system in the Bahamas has long been a source of revenue leakage for the government. Mountains of tax arrears have been accumulating in part because our system was antiquated. The real property tax system has been plagued with data issues as its data has been publicated and inconsistent and poor property descriptions. Once again, the administration has level set the game. To date, the implementation of the new real property tax with technology partner Tyler Technologies has resulted in the employment of 45 Bahamians. The new platform has been updated with over 13,000 assessments, adding $9 billion in tax property value to the tax roll. Our database now has consistent property descriptions, which will result in less errors in billing. Based on the work to date on this project, tax property revenue is estimated to increase by $14 to $22 million. Madam President, the third pillar also is exploring new tax collection opportunities. So the government is currently concluding arrangements that will allow for the introduction of overflight fees and is further along in this process than any other administration has ever been. While this revenue will not come directly to the consolidated fund, it will allow for the direct funding of air navigation services activities throughout the Bahamas, and thereby reduce the need for direct funding from the government. Number four, also, Madam President, providing tax relief for the vulnerable groups. We must emphasize and continue to do this. It's not just about making these grand sweeping claims, but it is about providing targeted tax relief to those people who are most in need of it. Targeted economic policies are a sign of good governance, and this includes targeted tax relief to support those in need when they are most vulnerable. The government has implemented deliberate and targeted tax policies to ease the burden on the poor and the vulnerable. So remember, Madam President, the introduction of the back to school VAT holiday provided by this government, providing relief to parents and families. Remember the creation of tax-free zones in Grand Bahama and Abaco, again provided by this government, so that you can get gas, you can purchase a vehicle, you can repair your home, all duty-free and VAT-free. Also, remember the creation of the tax-free zone in the over-the-hill community, Madam President, where there has been over 2.5 million in tax breaks to businesses in those communities. And then remember the reduction of duty on fish supplies and support of our fishermen, alongside with the Small Business Development Center. Madam President, we have been focused on a targeted approach when it comes to providing tax relief for our people. Madam President, I wish to conclude by speaking on a few matters in Grand Bahama. I believe, Madam President, and I say without fear of contradiction, the people of Grand Bahama are amongst the strongest, most resilient of any people in these Commonwealth divides. We have been shaken, Madam President, to the core. Even my colleague, Senator Dowell, will agree with me when I say that as well. We have been shaken, Madam President, to the core, but we have remained committed to rebuilding better and stronger. Let me say up front, yes, I am fully aware that we have a lot of work still to be done in Grand Bahama. I suffer no illusion as to the needs of Grand Bahamians. That being said, I want to touch on some of the important work that is taking place. Madam President, I have determined in my mind that I'm going to talk positive about Grand Bahama. I am going to continue to talk positive about Grand Bahama. And I'm going to continue to talk about those positive things that are going on in Grand Bahama. Because, Madam President, if I want people to invest in Grand Bahama, then I got to tell them the good things that's going on in Grand Bahama in order for them to invest. If we continue to talk about the negative things, and we continue to talk about the negative stories, and I'm not talking about hiding anything, but I'm just talking about good sense. That if we continue to talk about the negative things, and in the same breath we are asking people to invest in Grand Bahama, it will make no sense. So, Madam President, while I have the privilege to remain as the Minister of State for Grand Bahama, I will continue to talk positive about Grand Bahama, continue to encourage people to come and invest in Grand Bahama, and continue to bring people to come and help build Grand Bahama along with me. And I'm going to continue to talk positive about it. As a government, we saw the need, Madam President, to purchase the Grand Lucayan Hotel in Grand Bahama, to preserve jobs and to preserve the physical plant. We refuse to allow it to go the way of Royal Oasis. And I stand by, Madam President, stand by the decision that we have made when it comes to investing in the people's money, investing in the jobs and the lives and the livelihoods and the future of the people in Grand Bahama in what we did. Because, Madam President, every day we drive past the bazaar, and every day we drive past the Royal Oasis, I am thankful every day that the government took the decision that it took. And I am thankful, Madam President, that we are on our way to renewing, we are on our way to a redevelopment of that property, Madam President. So, Madam President, I take the opportunity also to thank the 30 or so hardworking Bahamian staff members who remained in place from natural disaster to health crisis, and to keep those grounds and maintain those grounds. And I take the opportunity to thank their families for supporting. Madam President, that's why we can open the Lighthouse Point, because of the hardworking and dedicated workers who remain there in the engineering and maintenance department. And Madam President, that the number of additional persons to be engaged for the reopening of the Lighthouse Point on March the 25th is some 31 Bahamians. This means that the reopening day, there will be a component of 71 employees, and that the number of employees is expected to increase as the hotel occupancy increase. We also provided a budget of 1.6 million, which has been approved for the pre-opening expenses. Again, focused on just those immediate needs and repairs. So such repairs to the roof, air conditioning, maintenance, food and beverage outlets, the pool, interior, exterior painting, refreshing up the guest rooms, landscaping, inventory provisions are what is being done. We also continue to press forward to complete the Grand Lucayan deal with Royal Caribbean and ITM. It has been a long and difficult road, but we believe that it is in the best interest of the Bahamian people. I now turn to the acquisition of the Grand Bahama International Airport. I'm pleased to confirm that the transaction is in the final stages of being completed. After acquisition, and with the assistance of the Department of Aviation, we will issue an RFP globally to find the best fit partner to plan, develop, finance, and operate the new Grand Bahama International Airport. Madam President, there's no quick or easy fix for this airport. It didn't take us overnight to get where we are, and it's not going to take us overnight to get us out of where we are. So, Madam President, there is high interest. We have agreed, again in principle, to the terms of the transaction to acquire the airport, and the legislation has been amended, or is now being amended, for the airport authority to now own airports in Grand Bahama. The airport will be transferred to the airport authority, and the RFP that is being issued will allow for a special purpose vehicle to be created, similar to the NAD transaction, that will operate the airport as a fully owned Bahamian facility. Madam President, there's already widespread global interest in partnering with the government to develop the airport. And consistent with our governance structure, the RFP process will guide the decision of the best fit partner for the government of the Bahamas. I am pleased to advise also that pending the redevelopment of the airport, we have committed to spend $1.5 million to restore some of the devastation at the airport. As persons may note, a new facility has been expanded to allow for more persons to be accommodated at the airport, but we are going to assist with the $1.5 million in repairing, also repairing the tower building, replacing the elevator system, creating office space at the old domestic terminal, repairing the current cargo building. As stated, a complete redevelopment of the airport will be planned with our partners, but the repairs will also be completed in the near term, will help to return operations to a more comfortable state. Hurricane Dorian, Madam President, did again devastation to our schools, and we can report, Madam President, that we had spent $4.5 million in restoring all 15 or 15, sorry, of our schools in Grand Bahama. And I want to commend, Madam President, the COVID team in Grand Bahama. I want to commend the educational officials, the teachers, the parents, and the students who have been able to open in-person classes in Grand Bahama with little to no interruption in Grand Bahama, Madam President. They should be commended for it. They're doing a tremendous job. Madam President, also, we have been able to repair the administrative building in the McLeanstown building. They are about ready to move in. That's the building that allows for people to have right next to the dock, that allows us to move to Proceedings Key, move to Deepwater Key, and also move to Abaco, Madam President. We also have seen the completion of the clinic in McLeanstown. That was destroyed by Dorian and has now been completely restored and outfitted with state-of-the-art equipment, including solar panels, which were designed and installed to augment the power supply at the McLeanstown Clinic. We also, Madam President, have in the East, and I also just want to say some of the things that's happening in the East, Grand Bahama area. We are now, Madam President, moving ahead with a solar light project which will accommodate persons in McLeanstown, Proceedings Key, Pelican Point, High Rock, Freetown, and yes, Water Key, beginning this week, Madam President. And all of these communities are in the East Grand Bahama constituency in conjunction. Yeah, but not the power company. This is in conjunction with the government. Yeah, no. We were always responsible for lights. Yeah, but we were always responsible for lights. Yeah. So yeah, that's fine. We were always responsible for lights. The work is estimated, Madam President, to be complete within 2 months. Madam President, some 8 to 10 persons will be employed working directly on the project. Additional work will be provided through subcontractors, Madam President. Madam President, this project is in alignment with the Minister Administration's mandate to focus on renewable energy, and we intend to place 25 light fixtures in Proceedings Key, Pelican Point, High Rock, Freetown, and then another 29 light fixtures in McLeanstown and 12 light fixtures in Water Key. Madam President, also in the East, we are looking at refurbishment of the High Rock Memorial Park. We are also looking at the cemetery in McLeanstown, refurbishing the cemetery in McLeanstown. And also in the West, there is a local company that has been contracted to build 2 boat ramps, as well as a fish cleaning station in West Grand Bahama. The Rand Memorial Hospital, Madam President, we are finally coming to a conclusion in terms of opening of the Rand Memorial Hospital, the extension of the Rand Memorial Hospital, which we expect to be done on the first week of April. Madam President, also I just want to close again by just talking about a few of these investments in Grand Bahama. We are thankful that the Western Atlantic School of Medicine has began construction of their 26,000 square foot building, which will occupy a 10-acre space of land. And they are projected to enroll 200 students in 2022. This translates, Madam President, 100 jobs for construction, as well to the tune and a $33 million investment in the Grand Bahama economy, and they have started construction. Madam President, the second phase, they will add an additional $15 million. They will add some additional full-time staff, and again, they want to have up to 500 students in the second phase. Madam President, this also is good news for Grand Bahama, because we also was pleased to learn of the announcement by Doctors Hospital of their plans to partner with Cleveland Clinic to develop a medical facility in Grand Bahama. This is, again, is good news for Grand Bahama. We also see a company called Clean Marine Group, Madam President, in the first phase of their Marpole port reception facility within the Grand Bahama shipyard, and which was awarded the Inter-American Development Blue Tech Challenge Award in 2019 that provided in total over $3.6 million in match funding for its development. It is now complete and will go live in the first half of April. Madam President, environmentalists in the Bahamas would be pleased to know that Clean Marine will be capable of processing large volumes of waste generated by the normal operations of ships that visit the shipyard, including cruise ships and commercial vessels. This also means that they have already been approved by the NEC for their $10 million investment, where they are going to build an additional facility at the Freeport Harbor. Again, Madam President, good news for Grand Bahama. We are also pleased that the government is in the process of approving a new Discovery Bay project. The company intends to develop a mixed-use resort consisting of 25 key boutique hotel and restaurant, 30 residential estate lots, 12 townhouses, 12 bungalows, and a 30-slip marina. It is estimated that this investment at the end of its phases will exceed $100 million. Again, Madam President, good news for Grand Bahama. I started out, Madam President, by admitting that I suffer no illusions, and that there is much more work to be done in Grand Bahama. But Madam President, I hasten to add that I thank God, and thousands of Grand Bahamians are thanking God that its F&M administration is in charge at a time like this. A government that goes to work every day and plots the course for our beloved country, while rough seas hail or assail us, while the ship is tossed and turned, Madam President, we remain focused on the end goal to provide better for the Bahamian people who elected us. We shall remain focused no matter what they throw at us. We rise with renewed resolve every day because we know what's at stake, and we shall fight for the Bahamian people with every emphasis on our well-being, with every ounce of strength, and with every gift that the Almighty has bestowed upon us. Madam President, while the past 18 months have been particularly challenged with the impact of Hurricane Dorian and the COVID pandemic, we are continuing to be prudent and responsible and managing the government's finances. 12 months ago, we started a fight against COVID-19 for the Bahamian people's lives and livelihoods. And 12 months later, Madam President, we are still fighting for the future of the Bahamian people. So, Madam President, we are not tired in this fight. We will continue with renewed zeal in this fight. And Madam President, the storm has only made us stronger. Going through COVID-19 and still going through COVID-19 only made us stronger. So, Madam President, we on this side will not stop the fight, but we will continue to fight for the lives of our people. Thank you, Madam President.
The chair recognizes Senator Sawyer.
Good morning, Madam President. Or good day, Madam President, fellow senators. Once again, I am grateful for the opportunity to stand in this honorable place today by God's grace. And I give him all the thanks and praise for that. Madam President, as I stand today to second the compendium of bills, namely the Public Debt Management Bill 2021, the Public Finance Management Bill 2021, the Public Procurement Bill 2021, and the Statistics Bill 2021, and also to second the resolution to adopt the Fiscal Strategy Report of the Ministry of Finance and the mid-year budget performance during the 6-month period ending December 31st, 2020. Madam President, I am pleased to second this historical compendium of bills. And finally, it brings transparency, finally, transparency will truly be seen when it comes to the procurement process and the proper management of the financial affairs of the Bahamian people finances. Madam President, I will not go into details as to all the intricacies of those bills because our Minister of Finance did an excellent job in explaining that to us already. But Madam President, let me now focus on what I came here to do, and that is to talk about the fiscal mid-year term report. Madam President, just let me, before I start my contribution, Easter is just around the corner, and I'd like to take this opportunity to wish, as we prepare for Easter, I'd like to take this opportunity for us to be careful and to also, as we celebrate death and resurrection of our Lord Jesus and Savior Christ, let's reflect on the past year and the global effect of COVID-19. We now look ahead, and life is much more differently now. And of course, many of us can remember, like last year, Easter, we were all on lockdown. We couldn't go out. I can remember quite clearly, starting with Good Friday, the night before Good Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, leading up to after Easter Monday, we were all locked down, couldn't go out. So I think, and the way our things are going now, it looks like, unless there's a second or third surge coming on, and I urge the Bahamian people just to be careful and observe all the protocols with reference to this pandemic. The COVID-19 numbers have improved tremendously due to the measures taken by this F&M government under the capable leadership of the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis and his expert medical advisors and the hard-working medical team. My congratulations to them on the work that they have done. We are not out of danger yet, as this virus is still among us. It is important that we remain vigilant and continue to practice the protocols of washing our hands, social distancing, wearing our masks, and avoiding large crowds. We must not become complacent because the numbers are low. We must not drop our guard, as it is not over yet. We all want the economy to fully open, but we must do it carefully and strategically. Now is not the time to have the big gatherings. Now it is not the time to have the big parties. We are still in a crisis, and we must still be careful. I watched international news, and I'm amazed to see what many countries are now going through. Many are in a third wave of cases now, and many hospitals are booked to capacity. And some countries are looking down and moving their curfew to 8 p.m. or earlier. Some Bahamians were mad and upset with the competent authority for keeping our 10 p.m. curfew, but there's a good reason for that. Some countries are now adopting our practices and protocols in their efforts to combat this new surge. and citizens are looking at the Bahamas as a leader. Just the other day, TropiCalPulse.com listed the Bahamas as one of the safest countries in the Caribbean to visit. This is because we have done the right things and we are continuing to do the right things. When I hear the side opposite say the economy is bad and people are not working and the government is not to blame, I cry shame on them. This government did not close the hotels, nor did they stop the cruise ships from coming. This pandemic is worldwide and it has crippled many, many great countries. This F&M government has made a great effort with the millions spent on food relief, on the unemployment relief, the assistance to solve the small businesses to ensure they were able to meet their payroll. And it is disingenuous and it is wrong to mislead the Bahamian people on our economy and how this government handled this pandemic. Criticism is okay, but one must be willing and able to offer suggestions and solutions. No leader of this country in the past 60 years had to deal with two categories, fire hurricanes, and a global pandemic. This Prime Minister handled it well and governed with authority and made the hard decisions that many times were not the popular decisions, but were the right decisions. There is now a light at the end of the tunnel. 2020 has been a hard year for us, and this F&M government has done its best to ensure that the Bahamian people who are in need got the help that they needed. The many programs and initiatives have been effective, and thousands of Bahamians have benefited. Our number one tourist industry has been handcuffed, and we have all felt it. I am elated to see the hotels are now opening up, and Bahamians are now going back to work. This is good news. The numbers will increase as more tourists will travel back to the Bahamas, as many are now getting the vaccine around the world. I am happy there that the first batch of vaccine is here. And now, I think they started today with members of the healthcare sector and getting their vaccines. And I want the Bahamian people to know that this man, this senator of soil called Dwight Sawyer, will be taking the vaccine. I hear many say they do not know if they will take the vaccine. And while you do not have to take it, I encourage all of you to do so. By taking the vaccine, this will move us closer to a much more normal life. Some persons are concerned about taking the vaccine because they fear the side effects. But the one that came to us has been given the approval of the World Health Organization as well as the Caribbean Medical Association. This vaccine is just as good as any other out there. So when it's time, I will be taking the shot right here in my right hand. Yes. Madam President, the Bahamas revenue in 2019 was $2.4 billion. With $2.4 billion, and expenses were $2.6 billion, giving us a record low in many years of a deficit of $200 million. In 2020, our revenue was $2.4 billion, with expenses of $2.9 billion, giving us a deficit of $800 million. It is now projected that 2021 revenue will go to a low of $1.7 billion, and expense will be over $3 billion, giving us a deficit of $1.3 billion. And Madam President, we cannot increase taxes. The Bahamian people are all taxed out already. We need to, and we must find other ways to increase our revenue and build our economy, but we can't do it through taxes, increasing taxes. In 2019, we had a record-breaking tourist year with over 7.2 million people coming to the Bahamas. Our cruise ship passengers accounted for 75% of our visitors to our shore. This equals about 5.4 million visitors. Now this 5.4 million is down to zero and will not grow until we start getting cruise ships coming into the Bahamas. Madam President, I go for a walk many, many mornings in Clifford Park, and I use the time after I finish my morning exercises, and I use the time to reflect and sit down and look at the cruise ships coming into our harbor, our port. And Madam President, Since March of last year, not one cruise ship has come into the port of Nassau. Madam President, and I sit down and wonder that especially the cruise ship industry, how it has affected the countries around the world. Do you realize? I want a lot of Bahamians to realize that, because I was speaking to someone the other day, and someone that didn't realize it. During the World War I, cruise ships still traveled the world. During World War II, cruise ships traveled the world. During the Vietnam War, cruise ships traveled the world. During the Korean War, cruise ships traveled the world. During all these other wars going on, cruise ships traveled. But in the last 100 years, not one cruise ship traveled the world, only because of something called the coronavirus. And this was not caused by no F&M government. This is not caused by no PLP government. This is caused by the coronavirus. And that's why we must take that vaccine and make sure we get rid of that virus once and for all. But I just want people to understand the effect of this virus, because they want to put the blame on this government. All right? And we've done a tremendous effort in making sure we try to make life as comfortable as practically possible for all Bahamians to do, okay? And also, Madam President, and I also like to mention also that, during this last 12 months, the government made a bold decision not to lay off any government workers. They all got paid and many of them, except, they got paid every nickel of their salary, okay? And many of them didn't have to work. Unlike the healthcare workers, the defense force individuals, the police, and all those that be on the job, they work and they make sure they take care of us. But there's many government workers who government workers get paid on a monthly basis. Every month they got their paycheck. Well, some get paid weekly, but most of them get paid on a monthly. They got their paycheck. And on top of that, no salaries have been cut. Okay, within the government sector, but within the private sector, many of them caught eternal hell. And sometimes I wonder how they make it. But nevertheless, they made it. And the thing about the private sector, Madam President, is that, we have a big informal economy in this Bahamas. Because sometimes I wonder, during this pandemic, when I drive around, I go by Iraqi in the afternoons and weekends, people are just spending money. But many of them say they ain't got no money. They broke. All right? So I don't know where they get the money from. And also, before we study some of the restrictions, when you pass some of these number houses we have shops, the line goes around the corner. So where they get the money from? They must be put in a rock hole or someplace like that, or they got out of the rock hole. But nevertheless, Madam President, we have a much larger informal economy that we probably don't realize how large it is. Okay? And the other day, Madam President, also is that I was speaking with a what do you call it, nail technician, the individuals who take care of the ladies' nails and fingernails and toes and whatnot, right? And so I said, things have been tough for you the last 9 months. She said, no, Mr. Senator. I said, what happened? She said, what she did, she closed down her shop. She didn't have the rent, I pay no rent. She stayed at home. And Madam President, every weekend the ladies come there and they get their nails done, they get their hair done, they get their toes done, because they say they want to look pretty. They want to look good. All right? So, Madam President, they made their money. Okay? So, and I commend them for that. I commend them for that. All right. Anyhow, Madam President, just to get back, let me get back on course now, okay? Where am I? Okay, this, say what? Oh, no, I'm not in that category. Anyhow, Madam President. So we hope that the cruise ship business will come back to the Bahamas so that people can make some more money. Madam President, the world tourism numbers are down significantly, as I said before. However, it is good to hear from the Minister of Tourism when he said that at our Bralin Resort, that the booking for the Easter looks very, very good. And Bralin is my hometown. I'm always happy to know when things are going good up there. even though we had the tragic accident up there over the weekend on Sunday night with the people. But things are looking good for Easter, and the numbers up. So I think Bradley is going to have a very good Easter holiday. Madam President, I'm happy to see that the Prince George dock redevelopment start, and I see a good amount of work is being done. We must make preparations for the growth of the cruise industry that will happen over the next 5 years. Many say we have to move on from relying on tourism as much as we do. I agree, but this is not an overnight thing, and as we look at ways to supplement tourism, we must now look to bring that back to normality. Yes, new and innovative industries are needed, but we can't turn our backs on tourism. I'd like to take this opportunity to say thanks to our former Minister of Finance, K. Peter Tinkrest, for his outstanding service over the past 3.5 years in guiding our economy. He worked tirelessly, and fairly to ensure the country stayed on the right track. He battled economic challenges like none other, having faced 2 major hurricanes and a pandemic that basically shut down our country. He and his team put a plan in place that ensured the government was able to establish a very good food distribution program to assist thousands of Bahamians, along with unemployment benefits, small business assistance, plus a lot of budget adjustments and hard decisions. These kept us going. I've had the opportunity briefly to review some of the opposition's master plan for economy. You know something? One thing you can say, you can write anything on paper, even if it doesn't make sense. Let me first say, I was never for the implementation of that. But I do understand that if the PLP had been totally upfront with the Bahamian people and had done it right away, we may have been in a better position now. Now they're trying to sell the Bahamian dreams with a promise to drop VAT from 12% to 10% for 1 year. Then what happens after that? They can take it back to 12, or what we are worried, and they may take it to 15, like they wanted to do in the first place, or they may take it to 18. We just don't know. Then they can blame us for that, right? Then they say they will give all types of incentives and relief, but not how they will pay for it. They say the drop in VAT, the VAT rate will encourage more spending and it will jumpstart the economy. All right, but I just don't know if that will work. And you know, when the PLP came to power in 2012. They made all kind of promises at the time. They said something about the road work, how they can change the directions of the streets from one way to the street, and all that, and the mortgage relief plan. Yeah, and all that. And they didn't say, and you know, they have these promises, and they didn't say anything. They didn't do anything about the promises. They didn't change anything, none whatsoever. So all I'm telling the Bahamian people, be careful of these promises. These are only pipe dreams, okay? No. They ain't smoke that one, okay? Okay. Wait, no. Oh, okay, sir. The FNN government has not and will not sell our people dreams. We are not afraid. We are not afraid to make the tough decisions. We make decisions to make the Bahamas better, to make life better, to save lives. It's not a popularity contest. It has been and will always be about the people. It's the people's time. The people's time is always, not just for a season. This FNM government has heard the calls of its people, and in particular its fishermen, and passed an amendment to the Fisheries Act to ensure the industry remains for Bahamians. Our move to legalize marijuana will be a landmark move for this country. Many young people will be given their lives back when the criminal records are expunged for small amount of marijuana. Many will be able to get better jobs and contribute to our country. Madam President, this FNM government, Family Island Development, has been very active, and much has been done, and much is about to be done. I just want to list some of the things that we have done in the Family Island so that people are aware of what we've been doing in the Family Islands. The Parliamentary docks and boat ramp, we did that. The pavement of the roads in Exuma, we did that. We soon did. There's soon going to be a new airport in Exuma. We did that. Many people are wondering why we want to fix up Exuma, but Exuma is part of Bahamas, but we can fix that even though they have a PLP MP there. But we're going to make sure in the next election we can have an FNM MP there. One gone. The Newton Key Bridge in Long Island, the first bridge to be built in the Bahamas in over 30 years. The Monument Road in Long Island, the road paving in Long Island, soon to come a new airport in Long Island. The Roderick Newton Eggs Bridge in Spanish Wells, a new bridge for our people in Spanish Wells, right, brother Sweden? The paving of the roads in North Eleuthera, the paving of roads in Albert Island, the paving of Tarpon Bay Settlement Roads, and soon to come, the North Eleuthera Bridge, the North Eleuthera Airport, and soon to come, the new glass window bridge in Eleuthera, the Rock Sound dock will soon be completed, and soon, and for Cat Island, I think last week, they can soon get the potable water in Cat Island. I believe, I believe that's another FNM project. And for a long time, Cat Island had a deputy prime minister, they had a PLP MP for a long time, and now we have to go up there and give them water. And the minister works, but that's the minister works on top of that. We have to give them portable drinking water. Shame on him. But anyhow, he gone. Now let's see gone. Now let me come back to Nassau. Here in Nassau, we have seen and entered the fires at the city dump. That was the vaccine thing, many of us. There's recycling, composting, and green space. We instituted the fiscal responsibility bills. And as the minister just said a while ago, the small business center and what we can do with the small business center and make it much more feasible for young Bahamians to be part of be part of our economy. Free tuition at the University of Bahamas, the digital economy, the proposed land registry, the sand dollar that he spoke about a while ago, the national ID card that we can get, maybe not this year, but and 2 years from now, the environmental laws, the plastic ban, the protected areas, the ban on ships dumping of waste in our waters, the downtown renovation, the Old Hill project, lots in designated subdivisions for 15,000, 20,000 for young Bahamians to take part of, and the BPL restoration, the Bahamas Power and Light, and this has resulted in a reduction of our light bills. And Madam President, this past summer, people used to talk about some summers ago we had a lot of power shortages, power outages, and power load shed. This year, they ain't complaining at all. There's no complaining. We had a few minor power interruptions, but that was due to transmission, but it had nothing to do with load shedding. And I think this coming summer, we can be in good stead again because the minister who's in charge of that, our good friend and my good friend, Minister Bastian, says that all the engines that, what did I say, Bastian? Oh, our Deputy Prime Minister Bannister, all those engines at Clifton Pier are rocking and rolling for this summer. Madam President, since Dorian, a lot has been done to bring Abaco and Grandmama back to normalcy. While we know the pandemic has played a role in making these things happen faster, there's still plenty to be done. It must be understood that these things will take time and will not happen faster than it can. We know that to bring things back to, or even better than they were, it will be years and not months. We must be patient. This FNM government has shown over the past 4 years that it cares for the people, about the people, and for the first time a government that has made decisions not with the next election in mind, but with the people of the Bahamas in mind, the health of the people of the Bahamas in mind, the lives of the Bahamians in mind, and most of all, the future of the Bahamas. This government continues to fight for the Bahamian people, fighting to make it life better, fighting to make the way of living better, and fighting for the safety of its citizens. We have come a long way, and it's been a roller coaster, sometimes rise up and down. We have faced adversity as the people and as the government. We have weathered the storm and we are beginning to see the rainbow. We as the people will soon be back to the growth we are seeing before COVID. I look forward to completing our agenda, and we look forward to another 5 years after 2022. And Madam President, with those few words, I second the compendium of bills and also the mid-year term budget. Thank you very much, Madam President, as I take my seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I wanted to table just two. There's actually three documents that I want to table, but one is coming from Grand Bahama, and so that's not here as yet. But I wanted to take the opportunity to table two documents that are part of my presentation. The first, Madam President, is what is called a Citizen's Guide to 2020 Fiscal Strategy. And what this speaks to, Madam President, is just a outline of the government's fiscal plan and part of the economic recovery plan. And it really lays out, Madam President, what the government is doing and plans on doing. And it lays it out in a very, very simple, comprehensive plan. In fact, one of the pages just says a plan for revenue, and it just speaks to what the revenue plan is, a plan for expenditure, and it speaks to what the plan for expenditure is. So I want to just table this, a plan for economic growth. And it just gives a very plain, easy to read plan, Madam President. And then the other document is Digital Bahamas. And it again just lays out in very simple form all of those digital initiatives that we had spoken about. What's happening in health, what's happening in social services, the My Pilot services, the e-cabinet, cybersecurity, also talking about the Sand Dollar initiative, the e-commerce marketplace, all of those things that we are doing, Madam President, to take us to a fully digital Bahamas. So I just wanted to table these. There are copies for my fellow senators as well, Madam President.
Clear.
It has been moved and seconded that the that the following bill be read a second time and committed. A bill for an act to provide for the framework and procedures for the public procurement of goods, works, and services, to establish public procurement department to promote transparency and integrity in public procurement and for connected purposes. As many? No. Yeah, sorry. Chair recognizes Senator Dalvin.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I intend to, because I said it before, that Madam President and my sister are very good friends. And I promised my sister, who happened to be one of the church members at your parish, that I will always be respectful and defend the cause of the Progressive Liberal Party in a respectful way.
Is that the only reason you're going to be respectful?
No, I do have
because
a lot
I was your
respect.
sister's friend.
And over the years, I have learned to have great respect for you too, Madam President.
Well, thank you.
And so I promise to be respectful and behave myself. I also like to thank.
We appreciate that.
Yes, I also like to thank the Minister of State for Finance for an extensive outline of what is happening in that ministry, and to speak a little bit about things to come for the island of Grand Bahama. It's, if my watch is right, it's about half an hour to the time when we'd break for lunch. And so I would get an opportunity to look carefully at the Citizen Guide for 2020 Fiscal Strategy and the Digital Bahamas so that I can make a few comments as it relates to these reports from his ministry, hopefully when we return from lunch. Madam President, I listened to Senator Sawyer as he, in his usual way, create an impression that the Free National Movement is all that in a bag of chips.
Which it is.
And the PLP has not done anything for the growth and development of this country. Well, I understand that your mission is to politicize the argument at hand, and so I've learned to accept that. But I would like to let you know that we in the Progressive Liberal Party are committed to the growth and development of this country.
As you should be.
We may see things through a different lens, but I assure you that many of us, particularly those of us who sit on the opposite of you, are committed to the cause and will fight with every fiber in our body to ensure that the Progressive Liberal Party forms the next government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That is our job. That's the reason why I'm here.
Not 2022.
Well, or before. Or before. Absolutely. Madam President,
Gallery.
this morning I picked up the newspaper and I looked into the business section, and two things came to my eyes. One, an article by Neil Hartnell, which clearly indicates that absolutely concerned about the 45% foreign currency debt. And he goes on to, I wouldn't go into the article per se, but he speaks specifically about the economic fears, future external reserve pressures, as foreign currency debt hits $4.8 billion in 2020, at the end of 2020, and the trends of unsustainability in servicing the debt itself. Now, I know the Minister of State didn't speak about that. He spoke about all the great things that they're doing, and has not put the Bahamian people on alert of where we are and the circumstances that face the country in the years ahead. But I want to really focus on an article, again by Mr. Neil Hartnell, that speaks about the government fulfilling the pledge on the Grand Bahama incentive repeal. And it's an article done by Mr. Kerry Leonard. And Mr. Leonard is known to us in Grand Bahama. And I have a lot to say about things in Grand Bahama, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But over the years, we have come to realize that he represents a certain special interest group, and we learned to live with that. I'm sure the Minister of State for Grand Bahama and Finance knows what I'm talking about. But when I read the article from Mr. Leonard, he speaks to the government lack of transparency concerning matters affecting Grand Bahama, particularly the Grand Bahama International Airport, the Grand Lucaya. I happen to agree with him with that matter. I happen to agree because I believe the government needs to be more transparent. They have indicated that the reason why they're not transparent because they are in negotiation with the Port Authority and maybe another group. And so they do not want to release information that can be difficult for closing a deal. And I know what that is about because I've been there. But the people of Grand Bahama need to know, because we have been sitting and waiting for some time, waiting on the government to give us the information so that many of us who are in the business community can begin to plan our way forward in what we would do in the next fiscal year. But in the same article, Mr. Leonard spoke specifically to the Grand Bahama Investment Incentive Act that was passed under the former administration when I served as the Minister for Grand Bahama. He went on to try to strong arm the Free National Movement administration to honor the commitment to repeal the act, and attempted, and this is the part that really affects me, he attempted to demonize the Progressive Party for our policy decision and brought the leader of our organization into it. That I have a problem with. He spoke specifically about why the act should be repealed. But if my memory is right, during the negotiation process, he was brought in, like many businesses in the community, to have a discussion on what he feel or how he believe the government should move as it relates to tax concessions for the island of Grand Bahama. I'd also like to point out that hundreds of businesses had the same opportunity to speak specifically with a committee chaired by Dr. Marcus Bettel and guided by a world-renowned international consultant. Let me remind him that the committee itself was bipartisan. We tried our endeavor best to incorporate the Free National Movement. We tried our endeavor best to ensure that the business community was involved. And at the end of the day, this committee, independent of the government, made recommendations to the government on the way forward. These recommendations were subsequently drafted into legislation, and the legislation came to Parliament in 2016 and was later passed. And that is where we are now. The act is in place. Prior to losing the last election, the Free National Movement on its platform made it very clear that they would repeal this act. And Mr. Carey, Leonard Carey, is now demanding that the Free National Movement do what it said it would do. But I would like to say that in view of what has happened as a result of Hurricane Dorian and COVID, the Progressive Liberal Party remains committed to where we were before. But at the same time, we do understand that things changes. And as a result of that, we will be prepared to review the present circumstances that exist on the Family Islands, particularly Grand Bahama, before making a final decision on our way forward. We also caution the government to be very careful before you leap. Without reviewing the entire process and ensuring that much of the commitments that were made by the Grand Bahama Port Authority are carried through to the end. I believe if you go ahead and jump this gun, you will do a great disservice to the people of Grand Bahama. And so even though we stand by our position, we wait patiently to see what the next move of the government would be. But always remember, I can let you speak, Minister, because I know you do, but always remember that everything we do in Grand Bahama going forward must be in the best interests of the Bahamian people and not a small special interest group. Madam President, I think the Minister of Finance want to say a few words, and I would yield because I would like to hear what he has to say about what I said.
The chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank my colleague for allowing me to have this intervention. Madam President, I know Kerry Leonard, and I think Senator Dowell is accurate in his observation that Kerry Leonard criticizes both sides. Kerry Leonard is someone who speaks his mind and speaks his view with respect to, and he has a right to speak his mind and speak his view with respect to the matters that that happen in Grand Bahama. I do want to just very quickly respond to the Senator Darbo's mention about and I'm happy actually that they are prepared to review their position with respect to the Grand Bahama Incentives Act. We always believed that there were serious challenges with respect to that. It was never brought fully into effect, and was never fully brought into effect because it really was not workable, and still remains not workable. But we are fully committed to the repeal of that act, and we are fully committed to putting in place a process that will be in the best interest of the Grand Bahama public. We are at the, I would say, end stages of finalizing the replacement bill. But the point that Senator Darbo made, he and I actually agree on. And that is that we must hold the Grand Bahama Port Authority to the commitments that were made to the people of Grand Bahama. And so I believe line with respect to that, in ensuring that those commitments that were made to the people, that they are held to fulfill every commitment that was made. And we on this side are fully dedicated with respect to that. The comments that were made with respect to the airport and we've spoken about the airport. We have been transparent with respect to where that is at. And so we are fully prepared to continue to speak and be transparent. The same with the Grand Bucayan deal. We have continued to speak about that. I spoke about it in my presentation today as to where we are at with that. So we continue to be fully transparent. But we are moving ahead with respect to the full repeal of that Grand Bahama Incentives Act and replacing it with something that works. I could say more, but you know, we're not sparring politically on this point. I think he and I are aligned with respect to the need for that to be put in a workable state, and he and I are aligned with respect to ensuring that the Grand Bahama Port Authority is held to fulfill those commitments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I just would like to clarify a little bit of what the Minister said, because I don't want a misconception. When it comes to repealing the act, we are not aligned. We are certainly not aligned. When it comes,
Sure. No, you're fine.
when it comes to the issue of making the Grand Bahama Port Authority accountable to the residents of Grand Bahama, we are on the same page. Madam President, when we passed that bill that became the act in 2016, we were confident that the act was workable. We disagree on that point. And the reason why we felt that way is because at the Ministry for Grand Bahama, the process already began prior to us leaving office. So we know that the act itself was not a perfect act, but at the same time, we had a workable arrangement based on recommendation by a bipartisan committee guided by a world-renowned consultant. One of the things I'd like to say about it is the fact that the research clearly points to the fact that much of the prime commercial property on Grand Bahama was being held not for development, but for speculation. And many investors came to Grand Bahama to purchase land for speculation without any tax barriers. So they held up a lot of the prime land, and holding up the prime land, they prevented development. And the recommendation from that report clearly point to the fact that if we continue with that business model, we would never see Grand Bahama reach its true potential, because it will mainly be a land grab without taxes for foreign investors, rather than a development strategy for the way forward. And that was one of the main concerns and recommendations from the committee itself.
May I just make one point? One of the main concerns about anybody looking at that was the heavy-handed way in which the former government in this enactment seemed to slap the penalty, if you will, of this on only the Grand Bahama Port Authority, as if they're the villain. Whereas, as we know, in terms of their land is a 50-50 split between another entity. And so everything is about the Port Authority, the Port Authority, the Port Authority, but, they have a partner in this matter, particularly in that area extending from the port all the way out in half of the port area in terms of the so-called industrial park that was supposed to have been developed by this group as a part of the concessions given to them when they came in and invested. So the port is not and was never the only driver of this inertia in terms of the utilization of land. Half of the land was captured by another entity. So it seems to us that we have to have the ability to broker a reasonable relationship with the port and its partners in terms of the landholding business, which it did not appear to us that the government of that time, your government, was actually doing. We're trying to force something down their throat by legislation.
Madam President,
Senator.
I heard what the Attorney General said, and he is incorrect. He is incorrect because if he knew or if he reviewed what we were doing, he would realize that when we speak as relates to the port, we're also speaking to its partnership. Yes, absolutely. The entire process took into consideration, if I may, the entire process took into consideration the Hutchison Whampoa Group and the Grand Bahama Port Authority, who are partners. In some instances, the Hutchison Whampoa Group of companies operated. That's what he tried to do. He tried to take up my time, eh? Madam President, I'm fully aware of what's going on in the act. And I say to the AG that he is misguided in his utterance. We will speak specifically.
No, I'll only say, sir, that I disagree with you fundamentally.
Well, that's fine.
Because
the documents are
a
there to
two-headed
prove.
organization, you can't only blame one
Absolutely.
head. Thanks.
The documents are clear and will demonstrate to anyone who chooses to review them that what I'm saying is correct. Madam President, my friend, the Minister for Grand Bahama, who is taking on bigger things now, I always say, I hope you still have time for Grand Bahama, because your time has been split in half. And I saw when you spoke to Grand Bahama in the latter part of your presentation, when the steam was almost out. I remember the days when you would speak to Grand Bahama freshly. But it seems as if you have put us somewhat, you haven't forgotten us, but you have put us somewhere on the back burner. I think you need to review that strategy. Well, that's fine. Well, that's good you speak at national. And we hope that in the position that you sit in, we had a former member of Grand Bahama who was a minister who sit in the same position. And we felt that he could have done a lot more for us. But You were minister for Grand Bahama for a day or two. And initially, I supported you until you stood to your feet. And then I realized that it's better for crazy to take the position. Madam President, Madam President, I'm being nice. I am being nice. I said it nicely and very respectfully. But he had a chance, and in my personal view, I think he blew it. So if you had any intentions of holding it, I would have come to the Minister of Grand Bahama Rescue. Good. Madam President, thank you this afternoon for this opportunity.
The time starts now.
Yesterday in this honorable place, you and Senator Boswick Dean gave a moving contribution about the ravages of violent crime and the fact that our children are killing one another. My heart goes out to the families who have lost children as a result of violence. And as a result of these senseless crimes, I would like to reassure you and the Honorable Senator that we on this side agree with you both and fully support, and I've always said it on my feet, a bipartisan approach in addressing these complex issues that plague our nation. Madam President, we must work together as a united front to bring meaningful and sustainable solutions to this critical issue, because even one child loss is too many for our country. Last Sunday, I had the opportunity to be a part of a church service at Truth United Fellowship Ministries International, located on Fate Avenue, where the senior pastor, Apostle Nelson Strawn, brought a powerful word to all of us present. With your leave, Madam President, I would like to publicly thank both the Apostle and Prophetess Strawn for such a warm welcome, and to witness firsthand what God is doing in their ministry and by extension, the community. Madam President, as a direct result of COVID-19 pandemic, everywhere we go, people are hurting. And many church ministries have been adversely affected despite using digital platforms and the relaxation of the COVID-19 protocols. The feedback we are getting confirmed that many ministries lost membership to other large international online ministries, and the financial backlash they are facing could jeopardize the local church we once knew. Madam President, if the truth be told, it takes money to effectively run a ministry. And it takes more money when you start moving to assist members and doing substantive community outreach projects that would not only touch lives, but strengthen the family structure. And this goes right back to some of the complex issues that revolve around violent crime. It's the family structure that has been tampered with. And as we go from place to place, the family structure that we once knew and we were fortunate enough to grow up in is under attack. We are meeting children who are raising children, and have no blueprint on what is required to raise a family, build a community, and make a strong nation. That is why I believe a special government task force or cabinet subcommittee should be established to look closely into this problem with a mandate to find meaningful solutions to assist many of the affected ministries, either through grant funding or some sort of government subvention in partnership with urban renewal or social services. I know when we were there, we made steps towards this, and our deputy who's here, Senator Darius, may be doing the same. And if that is the case, we need to see more of it because I believe it will definitely assist in trying to tackle some of the complex issues that has led us to where we are today with children killing children. We cannot afford to sit back and see many of our churches, which is the moral compass for our communities, who once had wonderful outreach programs throughout the country, become economic victims to the COVID-19 pandemic. Madam President, Martin Luther King said that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. The same can be said for governments. And this point was brought home forcefully as I observed the actions and performance of this administration since they came to office, and more recently, as I listened to the Honorable Prime Minister deliver his midterm budget communication. Madam President, our country in the last 3.5 years have been faced with many challenges. Hurricane Dorian, followed by COVID-19 pandemic, has given us an opportunity to see firsthand what this minister-led administration is truly made of. And looking past the promises and beautiful photos laid out in their pre-election manifesto, it has afforded us on this side and many Bahamians an opportunity to see the extent of their commitment to supporting the least among us and their ability to find real solutions and execute these solutions efficiently and effectively on behalf of the Bahamian people. The stringent emergency orders, the prolonged lockdowns and curfews have caused the demise of many local businesses and have brought many persons to the brink of poverty.
Save lives, though.
Families who once had pride in their ability to care for their families and provide for their loved ones are now placed in an uncomfortable position of having to wait for handouts from the government, friends, and relatives. It is a reality, but we need to do something about it, Mr. AG. Well, that's what you say. We beg to disagree because you're dragging your feet. Some have lost their homes, their cars. They have been affected by the civil liberties that we once enjoyed that have been taken away. Madam President, the unemployment rate is now in excess of 40%. Social service lines are getting longer, and despite the government's limited support programs, many Bahamians are currently living without electricity. And we are learning about children who are going to bed hungry. This is the reality of where we are in the Bahamas today. So I'm disheartened when I listen to the presentations in the other place on the midterm budget. Government ministers did little to address the financial issues to their respective ministries, and the debate degenerated purely into a political mudslinging, countless, multiple deflections by ministers simply to camouflage the real economic crisis faced in their ministry and our country. It was sad to watch because, as far as I am concerned, little or nothing was said about the government's strategy of getting us out of this economic crisis, and this administration failed to outline a workable plan to put us back on the road to recovery. Madam President, the Minister of State for Finance spoke about what the government is doing, intend to do, and potential investments that are in play that could possibly happen before the bell is rung. I wonder, is this truly the people's time? I really wonder,
It ain't the PLC time.
is it truly the people's time? It is. Madam President, it's against this backdrop that I rise with a heavy heart to give God thanks and to make my contribution to the resolution that addresses the 2020-2021 midterm budget debate, along with the compendium of financial bills, mainly the Public Procurement Bill, the Statistical Bill, the Public Debt Management Bill, and the Public Finance Management Bill. It is my understanding, as was put in place by the lead of government business, and indicated that we will debate these resolutions together. But in my substantive contribution, I intend to address the budget first, then speak specifically to the compendium of financial bills before us, to do it separately rather than bundling them together. Madam President, I listened carefully to the Minister of State try to defend the government's poor performance. And much was said about the millions of dollars spent in the last 6 months. The truth of the matter is we have little alternative but to take his word for what it is, because after spending millions of dollars, we on this side have no way of knowing many of the details, because they have used the emergency orders to keep secrets about what they are spending,
Everything is transparent.
what they are borrowing, and more importantly, who have benefited from many of the contracts signed during this COVID-19 pandemic.
Point of order.
Chair recognizes Senator Thompson.
Madam President, I
Done.
really didn't want to intervene, but the 2 points I do have to but I can't let you get away with
1 o'clock?
with that.
1 o'clock, Chief.
Two things, Madam President.
1 o'clock.
One is
Pardon me.
You want him to finish?
No. We need to move the resolution before it goes to 101. I move that the business Senate do continue after 1 p.m. May I have a second?
It has been moved and seconded that the business of the chamber continues past 1 p.m. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The business will continue.
Now get him.
no, it's not a question of getting, but Madam President, two things that I do not want to leave on the record, and I think again in terms of misleading. One is the Prime Minister gave probably a close to a 2-hour presentation that laid out the complete plan of the government. If I had time, I would relay every single word that he said in terms of presenting a plan. He laid it out clearly in terms of what the government's plan is. So all I would invite the member to do is to, and I don't believe they do it, by the way, but I invite them to review the Prime Minister's statement. I invite them to look at the website. I invite them to look exactly at what the Prime Minister is saying, and they will see clearly. See, they could disagree with our plan, but it is a complete falsehood to say
there was nothing.
that he stood up there for 2 hours and said nothing. He spoke to the plan in detail. And secondly, Madam President, to say that we are using the emergency orders to be secretive about what we are spending is a ridiculous statement, because we are presenting, Madam President, and we have been presenting, and I wish I had the document with me, but we presented the midterm budget booklet that gives a complete detail of what the government is spending and what they are spending it on. So again, we cannot leave these things out there for the public with respect to it. A complete document was tabled. I don't know if the
it was a complete document.
Yeah, we got one.
Complete document, and this document has figures in it. So how could someone say that we are being secretive about what the government is spending the money on? And the evidence is here. All they need to do is just read exactly what the money is being spent on, Madam President. So it is misleading to say,
Presentation.
it is misleading to say that we are being secretive
he's
about
responding.
what we are spending.
Thank you.
Madam President, I heard the Minister of State, and I did listen to the Prime Minister's presentation. And he said that there was a plan. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. And that is my right as a member on this side. He may call it a plan, but we don't see it as a plan. It is, first of all, not a workable document. And secondly, the Minister of State indicated that they have been completely transparent. In his initial utterance, he spoke about $210 million that has been used as a direct result of the devastation of COVID-19. They were supposed to report what was going on with these funds, and we're still waiting for it. We are concerned about it because under the emergency orders, it is quite important to present how this money was spent, which contractors got contracts, and the list goes on and on. And so he speaks about completely transparent in the midterm budget communication. And the reality is, we're waiting. We're waiting for it. Madam President, the process.
On a point of order.
The chair recognizes Senator Bethel.
Thank you very much.
Been on.
In the budget statements, all spending of the government throughout this period has been brought forward. The emergency regulations signed by the Governor General only require the publication of the details of procurement if an order has been made suspending procurement law. Okay? Presently, all government procurement is governed by law. It's called the Financial Administration and Audit Act. The Public Public Finance Management Act will in effect repeal and replace the Financial Administration and Audit Act. So the point is that notwithstanding whatever the members opposite may say, all procurement that has occurred throughout the pandemic has occurred in the ordinary course of business following the existing law. The pandemic regulations by the Governor General only require enhanced disclosure if the law governing procurement has been waived or pushed aside by order signed by the competent authority. That has not happened. But I want to assure members opposite and the Bahamian people that so far as the cabinet is aware, all procurement has been carried out in compliance with the Financial Administration and Audit Act. Thank you. Member, may I just simply, sorry, this is no longer an intervention to
No, but I want.
I'll give you the point to answer.
Thanks.
But I just want to know how much longer do you have? long. So when you finish answering this point, we will then adjourn for the luncheon period so you can come back. I just wanted to give you the courtesy. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much, AG. I thank you for giving me that courtesy. To answer the leader opposite, the Minister of State Finance, in his presentation, stated that some $210 million was spent in the fight against COVID-19.
Yes, supporting
That's fine.
Bahamians.
That's fine. No, we don't have a problem.
That are documented.
Yes. What we're saying is to make the process transparent and to ensure that the government remains accountable.
What is more transparent than money in
Let me
people's
finish.
pockets?
Let me finish, man. Give me a chance.
What's more transparent
I was
than that?
respectful to you
Okay,
when you spoke.
okay,
Give me an opportunity.
I
man.
give it to you.
I was very nice and decent
Yeah,
about it.
when-
We go to the same church.
We worship the same God.
We worship the same God.
Let's leave it at
We see things differently,
Me-
but let's leave it
me
like
and your
that.
Beloved sister. go to-
Yeah. But listen to me. What I'm saying is,
Not bloody.
for the sake
Not
of
bloody.
accountability and transparency, we on this side ask the Minister of State Finance and the Minister of Finance to make these documents available for us to see. What are you hiding? If you would make them available for us to see, we would not have to say that you operated in secrecy.
You know,
Please.
member,
I thought we finished,
member,
man.
y'all started off by accusing people of committing a crime. And I had to
No, we
slap
don't
that back.
want to commit no
Oh, absolutely you did. When you
I
start,
never said that.
but not, I didn't say you. I didn't say you.
No. Be
I didn't
careful
say
how
you.
you say that now, 'cause
I
I
didn't
didn't
say
do
you.
that.
I didn't say you.
Thank you. All right.
I said y'all.
Yeah, but you include me
If
by
your
saying
leader do
y'all.
it, if
No, when you say y'all, you include me.
if your leader do it and you still follow him,
No.
then you were part of it.
No.
Okay. Okay. So you made a statement saying you don't agree with your leader.
No, I never said
Oh,
that.
all right. Then.
I
Okay,
said
okay. All right.
we accuse
Yeah.
no one of any criminal activity.
Okay, I accept.
Please.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah. On that point, Madam President, we all agree that nobody makes that accusation. We would like to now make the motion that we would adjourn for lunch, and in the interest of us really putting our shoulders to the wheel, lunch will only be for 1 hour, as opposed to the customary 2. And so, Madam President, I beg leave to move that the Senate, the business of the Senate, be suspended until the hour of 2:10 p.m. this afternoon. Okay, if I may obtain a second.
Has been moved and seconded that the business of the chambers of the Senate suspend for lunch break until 2:10 this afternoon. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We are suspended until 2:15.